stranger arrived frozen and silent. Welcome to Marple Mysteries. I am your host, Harrington. Tell me your city. I love reading them. Wolfe warms the trail that chilled the city. New York had one of those afternoons that feel borrowed from another month, light thin as onion skin and air sharp enough to keep a man awake. I was at my desk in the office, pushing paper that Wolfe calls essential, and I call punishment, when Fritz stepped in with his solemn face. "Mr. Goodwin," he said, "a gentleman is here. He asks to see Mr. Wolfe. He gives no name. He says he will not wait." "That's original," I told Fritz. "Describe him." "Not rude," Fritz said. "Cold. In that case, he'll fit right in. Show him to the office." I met the visitor in the hall. He was about 55, spare and straight, wearing a black overcoat buttoned to his throat as if he expected a blizzard inside. No hat, no gloves, no baggage. His hair was gray and combed back without vanity. His eyes were pale and steady, looking at me the way a banker looks at a loan application. "I'm Archie Goodwin," I said. "Wolfe's upstairs with his orchids. You'll need a reason to interrupt today. What's your name?" "I will give it to Mr. Wolfe," he said. "I need 5 minutes of his attention." "5 minutes I can sell cheap," I said. "Come on." Wolfe was in his chair behind the desk, broad, serene, and unwilling to budge for president. He glanced at the man without rising an inch. "This is Mr. Wolfe," I said. "This is a gentleman who thinks names are rationed." The visitor nodded once. "Mr. Wolfe, I am René Lavoisier." Wolfe's brows lifted a hair. "A French name. An eminent one." "It was my grandfather's," he said. "I am here because something bad must be stopped before it happens." "You mean a crime?" I put in. "Not yet. It concerns a trust." Wolfe made a small noise. "If it concerns money, it concerns crimes." "Describe it." "It is the Huxley Trust, about 30 million in securities and property. It funds the Huxley Foundation and its scientific grants. I am executive director." "Then your board is displeased?" "No, the board is pliant. The threat is personal. One of the trustees intends to alter the terms so the foundation is crippled, and he, with allies, is enriched." "You say intends. How do you know?" "I heard it 2 nights ago, after hours, in my office. They believed they were alone. I watched Wolfe, trying to see whether he was weighing devotion or trouble. He despises eavesdroppers on principle and lives on accurate information." "Which trustee?" he asked. Lavoisier shook his head. "I will not name him immediately. I need to be sure of something first." Wolfe's gaze hardened. "You ask my help and impose conditions. That is inept." "It is necessary. You are reported to accept cases for reasons you do not disclose." I asked the same latitude. That landed. Few people throw Wolfe's habits back at him without a tremor. "Proceed," he said. "I want you to take a retainer to investigate quietly which of 5 people is driving this scheme. If I name them now, you will see why I cannot accuse without proof. I also want assurance your investigation stays as much within your house as possible. This must remain controlled." "You wish to confine me," Wolfe said. "You prefer confinement," Lavoisier replied. "That is why I came to you. Wolfe doesn't like being handled, but he likes being understood." He leaned back, fingertips meeting. "Mr. Lavoisier," he said, "you have committed 2 errors. You arrived without appointment during my afternoon hours, and you presume my preference is a leash. Nevertheless, your anxiety has a certain flavor. If your facts are sound, I may deem the matter my concern. I will decide after hearing the names, the circumstances, and your reason for secrecy. You will tell me now." Lavoisier's jaw worked once. Then he said, "Very well. The 5 are..." Lavoisier named them in a flat, clerkish voice. "Harlan Huxley, the founder's nephew and chairman. Celia Vane, trustee through marriage to the late doctor's partner. Dr. Milton Kersey, a biochemist seated for prestige. Victor Talbot, venture capitalist who helped build the endowment, and Anne Ladd, counsel to the trust. Wolfe nodded once. Your reason for not identifying the guilty one? Because any of them could ruin me before I can stop him, Lavoisier said. My contract is renewed yearly by the trustees. A wrong accusation and I'm dismissed. Then the alteration passes without protest. You overheard a plot, I said. How many were there? 2 voices. One male, one female. The male said he would bring the foundation into alignment with modern incentives. The female laughed and said alignment meant starvation. They spoke of a special meeting next week. The conference room door was shut. I did not see faces. Wolfe's eyelids drooped. You did not open the door. No, I was prudent, or frightened. He drew an envelope from his coat. I brought the trust instrument, bylaws, asset schedule, and email arranging the special meeting. Leave them, Wolfe said. My fee is not light. I know. 10,000 now. 10 more when the threat is neutralized. Wolfe made a soft sound that meant he liked hearing numbers. Archie, take the papers. Fritz will bring beer. When Fritz arrived, Lavoisier refused. Not before evening, he said. Wolfe watched him another moment. You may go. Archie will contact you. If you return, do so by appointment. Lavoisier inclined his head and left, coat still buttoned to his throat, though the day was only sharp. I came back to the office and spread the papers. He's either straight or a first-rate actor, I said. We shall test which, Wolfe replied. Read. The trust had been created to fund infectious disease research. No trustee could profit personally except by reasonable compensation, and any change required a unanimous vote. Unanimous means one holdout blocks it, I said. Unless there is a side door, Wolfe said. Side doors are usually illegal. Note, Miss Ladd, counsel is a conduit, not an origin, unless she's unusually hungry. I read the email thread aloud. The special meeting was set for 7 nights from now at the Foundation offices on East 67th. Agenda, strategic realignment and compensation structure. The wording was bland, but Talbot pressed for speed and Huxley oiled it with civility. Wolfe leaned back. We must learn which of them would suffer if grants continue unchanged. The grants go to laboratories and hospitals. A trustee who owns a firm courting those laboratories may want tolls. Another may wish to divert funds to projects that exalt his name. He opened his eyes fully. Archie, tomorrow you will visit the Foundation. You will see their offices, the conference room, and the arrangements for this meeting. You will try to encounter each trustee, if possible, without announcing our purpose. Pretend to be interested in their grants. Fine, I said. I'll be a curious friend of Lavoisier. In addition, call Saul Panzer. Have him assemble what is publicly known about those 5. Holdings, quarrels, appetites. Discretion is essential. I called Saul and left word with his service. Then I checked the clock. It was close to 4. Outside, a truck grumbled past and somebody yelled at a cab, ordinary city noise that usually makes Wolfe's windows feel armored. Today it sounded like a warning. I locked the safe and waited for tomorrow to start. Anything else? I asked. Yes, put those papers in the safe. If anyone comes here looking for them, I wish to know immediately. He lifted his chin toward the stairs. And send Fritz up with coffee. Your visitor has impaired my digestion by existing. That was Wolfe's way of saying the brownstone had been marked, and I had the feeling the mark wouldn't wait 7 nights to show itself. I was on 59th Street by 10 the next morning, in my good suit. The Huxley Foundation had a brass plate, a guard, and a receptionist who could chill coffee by speaking. I gave Lavoisier's name and said I was an old acquaintance. After a phone call, she waved me through. Lavoisier met me at the elevator. Daylight made him look more tired than cold, but his coat was still buttoned to the throat. Mr. Wolfe agreed. He agreed to let me annoy you, I said. He wants me to see the room for Tuesday. I'm a possible donor who wants to know where things happen. If it protects the Foundation, be anything you like, he said, and led me down the corridor. The offices were glass and hush. The conference room sat on a corner. Long table, 10 chairs, screen, sideboard with a coffee, machine. They will sit there, Lavoisier said. I sit at the far end. The door locks from inside. Cameras cover the hall. 2 nights ago, you heard them from where? My office. He opened the adjacent door. Neat desk, files, no clutter. Their voices came through a vent. He pointed to a grill high on the shared wall. I stood under it and listened to nothing. You didn't record it. No. At first I thought I misheard. Then I was childish. Who else was up here? Only security below and a cleaner 1 floor down. No one on this level. We stepped out and nearly met a woman leaving a side office. Silver-haired and calm in a gray suit. Lavoisier said, Celia, this is Archie Goodwin. He's interested in our work. Her eyes gave me a quick audit. That happens. Are you a trustee somewhere, Mr. Goodwin? Only of my own bad habits, I said. But I like foundations that keep people alive. We try. She turned to Lavoisier. Send me the draft agenda for Tuesday. I want to see how realignment is being pitched. Then to me. If you're serious, come to our luncheon next month. The scientists are better company than financiers. She left. Lavoisier watched her go. She believes in the mission. Still, any of them could be used. A man approached from the far end with a sandy mustache and a smile that wanted applause. Victor Talbot, Lavoisier said. Talbot pumped my hand. So you're sniffing around, Talbot said. Good. Renee could use friends with wallets. I'm only sniffing for now. What's Tuesday about? Efficiency. We're a modern foundation tied to an antique trust. We need proper trustee compensation and grants aligned with commercial paths, so discoveries don't die in journals. His tone was genial, his eyes sharp. See you at 7, Renee. Don't be late. Harlan hates that. He rode the elevator down. Lavoisier's mouth tightened. Harlan Huxley is out of town. Kersey's in Boston. Ann Ladd is in court. Talbot pushes hardest. He's persuasive, I said. Yes. If he believes he's right, he could sell ice in January. 2 voices, I murmured. One female could be Vane. One male could be Talbot. But he doesn't sound like the whispering sort. Doors change people, Lavoisier said. Do you think Wolfe can stop them? I think he can stop most things if he gets facts. We traded a little more polite noise, and I left with a map of vents, locks, and chairs in my head. In the lobby, my phone buzzed. Saul Panzer said, Quick sketch. Huxley and Talbot have been circling a biotech startup called Proteus Arc. Vane has opposed it at meetings. Kersey consults for it. Council Lad filed their incorporation. I'm digging deeper, but that's the outline. I stood on the sidewalk while the city shoved past. Proteus Arc sounded like a side door if there ever was one. I told Saul to keep digging and headed for the brownstone to see how Wolfe would savor that outline. I found Wolfe where he always is when the world expects motion out of him, in the office, planted like a monument, book open, eyes half shut. He listened while I reported the foundations throughout, the vent, and my encounters. When I got to Saul's outline, his lids lifted. Proteus Arc, he repeated. What a florid name. Startup in contagious disease tech. Huxley and Talbot circle it. Kersey consults. Ladd filed papers. Vane against. That's Saul's quick take. Then the plot is to steer grants to Proteus Arc and reward those steering, Wolfe said. Unanimity can be purchased if unanimity is not required. There may be a clause permitting amendment with less if a trustee is disqualified. Illness, conflict, absence. Such things can be arranged. Arrange absence and you get your side door. Lavoisier heard two people. Vane didn't fit the laugh about starving grants unless she was acting. People act, Wolfe said, but appetites act louder. We need the appetites. He tapped a finger on the arm. Archie, you will visit Proteus Ark. Where's that nest? Saul will provide. You will go as a reporter or a potential investor. Learn who is financing them and what they expect from the Foundation. Also learn whether their offices have entertained any of our trustees. I went to the phone to call Saul back. Before I finished dialing, the doorbell rang. Fritz brought in a young woman with a tight mouth and a clipboard. Miss Anne Ladd, Fritz announced. Wolfe had not invited her. She sat without waiting for permission. Mr. Wolfe, I represent the Huxley Trust, she said. I want a word about your interest in our affairs. That you have learned of it so quickly is interesting, Wolfe said. How? Mr. Lavoisier told me, in confidence. I advised him to disengage. Did he do so? No, he is stubborn. Then you are here to persuade me to withdraw. In effect, the trustees will not tolerate interference by a private investigator. The trust is not in jeopardy. There is a routine review of compensation and strategic direction. Nothing sinister. Her voice worked to sound bored. It failed. Miss Ladd, Wolfe said, you are a lawyer and therefore trained to avoid definitions, yet you use the word routine twice. That suggests anxiety. Sit still and let me deduce why. She stiffened. You filed the incorporation of Proteus Ark, Wolfe went on. You are counsel to the trust. 4 of the 5 trustees have some relation to that enterprise. Your reputation would be harmed if it was shown you facilitated self-dealing. Therefore, you prefer that I depart. Is that not so? Her color didn't change, but her chin did. Proteus Ark is a legitimate scientific venture. A foundation supporting it is not self-dealing. Unless those supporting it profit, Wolfe said. That is hypothetical. You have no evidence. I have curiosity. You can cure it by providing facts. For example, which trustees hold equity in Proteus Ark? She looked at me. Are you recording this? I don't have to, I said. My memory's good. She faced Wolfe again. I'm not at liberty to disclose private holdings, but any trustee with a conflict will recuse himself from voting. Wolfe smiled. Recusal. That is the side door. If a trustee recuses because of conflict, unanimity among the remaining holds. Who will recuse? I don't know, she snapped and stood. Mr. Wolfe, I urge you to end this. It will only damage the Foundation's name. Damage is done by malefactors, not by those who prevent them, Wolfe said. I will proceed. She left without a hand. Fritz closed the door softly. Well, I said, that was a nice, clear, non-routine routine. Yes, Wolfe said, and it confirms pressure is already being applied. The brownstone is not yet invaded, but it will be. Archie, keep the safe locked. Say nothing to Mr. Lavoisier about her visit. Now call Saul. Saul called back in 10 minutes with an address in Long Island City and a tone that meant he'd already smelled something ripe. Proteus Ark is renting 2 floors in a converted warehouse, he said. Main backers are Talbot's fund, Harlan Huxley personally, and a shell that traces to Celia Vane. Kersey has an options package. Ladd is outside counsel and gets warrants. The shell is Norland Holdings, a Bermuda mailbox. That's plenty, I told him. Keep chasing Norland. I'm going to see the lab. Wolfe heard me repeat it and sat quietly for a full breath, which in his language was a paragraph. So Miss Vane is invested, he said. Her opposition may be theater, or her investment leverage. The female voice Lavoisier heard could be hers after all. Or Ladd's, I said. Indeed. We need Proteus Ark's urgency. Go. I took a taxi across the bridge into a block of warehouses that still smelled of paint and diesel. Proteus Ark had a smart new lobby wedged between old brick. I walked in as a writer for a science magazine, name-dropping Lavoisier and the Foundation. Their receptionist, a kid with lab goggles pushed up like a headband, made a call and handed me a badge. A man met me in the elevator, lean, early 40s, tie the color of algae. "Evan Rook," he said. "Communications. You're here about our immunotherapy platform." "Sure," I said. "And about how you expect to pay for it without selling your souls to Wall Street." He laughed too quickly. "We're already on Wall Street's leash. Come see." He showed me a bright lab where people in coats moved like careful chess pieces. He talked about engineered antibodies and rapid response vaccines. I listened and watched. Equipment was first class. So was the security. Keypads, cameras, a quiet guard at the stairwell. In a glass conference nook, I spotted Victor Talbot, deep in conversation with a woman in a white coat. He saw me through the glass and paused. Not startled exactly, more like annoyed at a fly. Rook followed my glance and lowered his voice. "Mr. Talbot is on our board. We're prepping for a review. Big funding decisions can't wait." "Seems busy for the day before Thanksgiving," I said. "Science doesn't take holidays." Talbot came out to meet me. "Archie Goodwin, right?" he said as if we were old pals. "Renee's friend." "Guilty. I'm looking at what the Foundation supports. You folks are in line. We're in line and hungry. If the Foundation keeps writing checks to universities while the private sector does the translating, that's sentiment, not strategy." "Sounds like Tuesday's slogan," I said. He smiled. "Maybe I'm a prophet. You should visit us after the meeting. Things will be clearer." "What things?" "Who's got vision and who's got nostalgia?" He clapped my shoulder. "Enjoy your holiday." I left with his handprint still on my coat and a list of small oddities. No labeled waste bins in the main lab, a locked cold room Rook refused to open, and a whiteboard of deadlines that all converged on next week's meeting. Back at the brownstone, Wolfe listened, eyes narrowing at the cold room and the converging deadlines. "Urgency," he murmured. "They need a vote now. Perhaps their data are failing, or their cash evaporating. In any case, they require the Foundation as rescuer." Talbot's sure it'll happen. So sure he allowed himself to be seen. Confidence is a mask that slips when prodded. Wolfe's gaze shifted to the safe. "Archie, check the documents." I opened it. The envelope Lavoisier had left was there, but lighter. I pulled the stack out and flipped. The asset schedule was missing. Nothing else was disturbed, but the thief had worked neatly, leaving no trace behind. I stared at Wolfe. "Subtle trespass," I said. "Somebody's been in our sacred little box." "And now," Wolfe said softly, "the game becomes personal." Wolfe didn't explode. He didn't even exhale hard. He took the papers from me, turned pages with the same care he gives his orchids, then set them down as if the missing sheet might crawl back. "Time?" he asked. "Safe was locked when I left for Proteus Ark yesterday morning," I said. "I was back at noon. Fritz served lunch, no strangers. I locked it again before going out last night. Therefore, the theft occurred between noon and your return," Wolfe said. "Or you are mistaken." "I'm not. The schedule was there when I put the packet away. I remember because I read the numbers twice." Wolfe's mouth twitched. "Memory is a treacherous servant, but I accept yours provisionally. Who had access to this room?" "Fritz, Theodore, you, me, and whoever can pick a lock or lift a key. Fritz is above suspicion. Theodore is not. You are not. I am not. That leaves either an outsider or an accomplice among the innocents." He stared at the safe. "Archie, examine it." I got on my knees, ran a finger along the dial and hinge. No scratches, no grit, no bent metal. If someone had worked it, he'd had skill and time. "Looks clean," I said. "Cleanliness is not evidence," Wolfe replied. "Call Saul. Tell him we have been burgled and that his services are needed here." Saul arrived within an hour, hat in hand. I told him which document was gone, The asset schedule, he said. So they want to know what's liquid, what's pledged. That sheet shows how to move money after the vote. Or how to squeeze Lavoisier, I said. Saul nodded. Any idea who got in? Wolfe said, not yet, but you will assist Archie in reconstructing the afternoon. Meanwhile, I will talk to Mr. Lavoisier. When I brought the phone back, Wolfe was connected. He spoke coolly. Afterward, he said, Mr. Lavoisier did not know of Miss Ladd's visit. He's alarmed by the theft, but denies knowledge. He will come tomorrow at 11. Saul glanced at me. If the thief wanted only that sheet, they knew exactly where it was. That points to someone who has seen the packet. Or someone who heard enough to know its value, I said. Wolfe waved a finger. Act now. Archie, you and Saul will go to the Foundation this afternoon. Observe who is there, who is edgy, who is counting votes. Also learn whether the asset schedule exists elsewhere. Saul and I rode uptown in his car. The Foundation office was quiet, half-staffed for the holiday weekend. Lavoisier wasn't there. An assistant said he'd gone to a trustee luncheon today. We walked the corridor. In the conference room, the table had folders set at each place, neatly squared. I opened one. It held the agenda and a draft amendment. The amendment wasn't about grants. It was about temporary reallocation during strategic partnership, a phrase wide enough to drive a cash truck through. Saul whistled low. They're not hiding it. In Lavoisier's office, I looked at the vent grill. New screws, bright metal. Someone had been inside the wall since yesterday. Under the desk, the dust was freshly disturbed, and the file cabinet sat a shade off the wall. We eased the cabinet forward. Behind it was a narrow access door, painted to match the paneling. Saul tried the latch. It opened on a crawl space run between suites. The vent from the conference room fed into it like a speaking tube. Two voices could have been right here, I said. And they could have come this way to avoid cameras, Saul said, including to visit your safe if they knew the old brownstone passages. We closed it and set the cabinet back. When we stepped into the hall, Celia Vane was standing there holding a paper cup of coffee. Mr. Goodwin, she said pleasantly. Mr. Panzer, looking for ghosts? Mostly accountants, I said. We were just admiring your modern improvements. That vent has had a facelift. Vane didn't look at the grill. She sipped coffee. You two are here for Renee? Partly. We're also curious about Tuesday's menu. The draft amendment is a fat one. Her eyes settled on mine, calm as a pond. I haven't seen the latest draft. Lucky you. If you're opposed, maybe you should. If I'm opposed? She repeated, smiling faintly. People say things about me because I'm a widow who reads balance sheets. I don't mind gossip. What I mind is an outsider wandering through our offices as though he owns a key. Saul said mildly, We don't own keys. We rent facts. From whom? From the world, I said. And the world's been noisy lately. She set the cup down. Renee called you. That was ill-advised. He is frightened, and frightened men invite messes. I told him so. Your counsel also told Wolfe to drop it, I said. That didn't land. Anne is paid to control risk. Mr. Wolfe is paid to increase it. She leaned closer. If he keeps stirring, there will be consequences for Renee. For you as well. Like what? Saul asked. Reputations bruise. Donors flee. Lawsuits breed. Her voice stayed even. And sometimes trustees who disagree find themselves unable to vote. Saul's eyes narrowed. Unable. Illness, travel delays, scandal. Life interferes. It has interfered with me. She lifted her cup again. I'm on my way to lunch with Harlan. If you want to lecture him, come along. Otherwise, stop rummaging. She walked off, heels quiet. Saul and I traded a look. I wanted to tail her, but my job was to feed Wolfe, not chase every squirrel. On the sidewalk, Saul said, that line about being unable to vote wasn't casual. No. And she's lunching Huxley today. She claims she hasn't seen the draft, but she knows the tactics. Back at the brownstone, Wolfe heard the report without blinking. Miss Vane has placed herself, he said. Either architect or decoy. Her remark about disabling a trustee is revealing. Who is easiest to disable? Kersey's out of town now, I said. Absence already arranged. Precisely. If Dr. Kersey is forced to recuse because of conflict, or is delayed from returning, unanimity among 4 would suffice. The draft amendment you saw anticipates strategic partnership. He steepled his fingers. We will summon them all here on Monday. But first I want Mr. Lavoisier tomorrow, and I want the missing schedule returned. How do you plan to get it returned? By giving the thief a reason to fear keeping it. Saul, watch Miss Ladd. If she goes to Proteus Ark, you follow. If she meets any trustee, you note it. Also obtain the Bermuda records for Norland Holdings. Saul nodded and left. Wolfe turned to me. You will make one call. To whom? To Inspector Kramer. Inform him a document tied to the Huxley Trust was stolen from my home. Do not mention the internal plot. I want him alert, not stamping. Kramer grunted when I reached him, but the word stolen in Wolfe's house got his ears up. You want a squad car on your stoop? He asked. I want your mind on it, I said. If anything turns up matching a Foundation asset schedule, you tell me. I'll tell Wolfe, he snapped, and hung up. That night, with the safe empty of anything worth stealing, I sat in the office chair and listened to the brownstone settle. Around midnight, the front bell rang, a single press. Fritz was asleep. I took my gun from the drawer and went to the hall. The vestibule door stood shut. No footsteps outside. Through the glass, I saw only the street lamp's yellow puddle. Then something slid under the door and stopped against the mat. It was an envelope. My name was typed on the front. I carried the envelope into the office and shut the door. It was light. I opened it with a letter knife and slid out a single sheet. At the top was the Huxley Trust asset schedule, photocopied with a sticky note fastened to it. The note said, in block letters, "Stop digging or the Foundation dies." Under that was a time, Monday 9 p.m., and a place, your house. I read it twice, then went upstairs. Wolfe was awake. You don't wake him so much as find him already waiting. He took the sheet, read the note, and handed both back. They have returned what they stole, he said. They have also issued a summons on my premises. How considerate. Could be a trap, I said. It is certainly a trap. The question is, what animal is expected to enter it? He reached for the phone. Call Saul, then Kramer. Saul answered on the first ring. He had followed Ladd to a diner on Lexington and watched her meet Talbot. They sat in a booth 15 minutes, hands low, faces tight. Saul couldn't hear words, but he saw Ladd pass a manila folder across the table. That folder could be our schedule, I said. It could, Saul agreed. Afterwards, she went straight home. Stay on her tomorrow, Wolfe told him without me. We will see all of them Monday. Kramer's reaction was pure Kramer. You're telling me somebody's threatening a Foundation from your front step? You want I should post a man? I want you here Monday at 9, Wolfe said when I put him on. You, not a patrolman. There may be fraud and perhaps worse. Fraud's your hobby, Wolfe. I'll come if there's a body. There may be, Wolfe said. Good night. Sunday morning brought Lavoisier at 11, cold-eyed and tight. Wolfe heard about the threat without comment. They came to my home, Wolfe said. That is imprudent. Now we proceed on my timetable. You will arrange for all trustees and Miss Ladd to attend here tomorrow at 8:30. Tell them you require urgent counsel before the meeting. They will refuse. Then tell them I possess information that will make refusal regrettable. Lavoisier swallowed. If I do that, they will know I enlisted you. They already know. Their theft and their note prove it. You will do as I say. He left to place calls, and I could feel the brownstone tighten its belt, preparing for company. Monday arrived wet and dark, the kind of day that makes sidewalks shine like gunmetal. By 8:15 the office was staged, chairs aligned, a tray of beer on a side table because Wolfe believes in hospitality, even when he's sharpening knives with words. I sat at my desk with a pad. Fritz hovered in the hall like a silent referee. Harlan Huxley came first, tall, 60-ish, with a silver tie and the family nose. He offered Wolfe a smile that was too slow. "Mr. Wolfe, I didn't expect detectives in philanthropy." "Philanthropy breeds detectives," Wolfe said. Victor Talbot entered next, shaking rain from his coat, buoyant as a parade float. Celia Vane followed, dry and composed. Anne Ladd arrived with a briefcase and a jaw set for argument. Last was Dr. Milton Kersey, just in from Boston, looking rumpled and surprised. They sat. The air thickened with alliances and debts. Wolfe regarded them. "You are here because the Huxley Trust is about to be violated. You will listen while I explain how and by whom. After that, Inspector Kramer will decide which of you is clamped." Talbot chuckled. No one joined him. Wolfe lifted the photocopied schedule. "This document was stolen from my safe on Saturday and returned with a threat last night. Therefore, at least one of you is a burglar. At least one of you is also a coward. We shall determine which roles belong to whom." Huxley's face went pink and then pale. "This is outrageous. You drag us here and call us thieves." "I call you suspects," Wolfe said. "Outrage is an emotion. I traffic in facts. The fact is that 4 of you possess an interest in Proteus Ark. One of you believes the trust can be bent to feed that interest." Kersey straightened. "Proteus Ark is a promising lab. Supporting it is not bending anything." "Supporting it is not," Wolfe agreed. "Diverting the endowment to rescue it is. The draft amendment you intend to pass tomorrow permits temporary reallocation during strategic partnership. It is a loophole with lipstick." Talbot spread his hands. "We're talking modernization. The Foundation can't keep operating like a museum." "You mean it cannot keep operating without enriching you," Wolfe said. "Mr. Talbot, your fund holds the largest stake. If the Foundation becomes a partner, your valuation triples. You pressed for the meeting, you wrote the language, and you met Miss Ladd in a diner Saturday with a folder." Ladd snapped. "That meeting was to warn him you were meddling." "Then you chose a low booth and passed documents like smugglers," Wolfe said. "Saul Panzer watched you. He's a better witness than you are a liar," Vane said quietly. "I own a stake through Norland Holdings, yes. I disclosed it. That is why I plan to recuse myself. Nothing illegal there." "Recusal is the mechanism of your crime," Wolfe said. "You and Mr. Talbot needed unanimity among 4 trustees, not 5. To achieve it, you required Dr. Kersey either absent or disqualified. You secured his disqualification by giving him options in Proteus Ark. He accepted, so he must recuse. That leaves 4. Kersey flushed. "I took options as consulting pay. I didn't know about any vote." "You didn't need to," Wolfe said. "You were the removed chessman." Huxley leaned forward. "You're accusing Celia and Talbot. Where's your proof they stole anything from your safe?" "Saturday. Only someone who knew the asset schedule's value would take it," Wolfe said. "Mr. Talbot had seen it in your files. Miss Ladd had it in hers. Miss Vane had asked for it. And you authorized Renee to send it to you. The thief wanted to learn how fast cash could be pulled to Proteus Ark. That motive belongs to Talbot and Vane." Talbot smiled thinly. "So you still can't name the burglar?" "Yes, I can. The burglar was Miss Ladd." Ladd jerked. "Absurd. You knew where the schedule was because Mr. Lavoisier sent you a copy for legal review. You knew I had the packet because you visited here to dissuade me. You returned Saturday using a key obtained from Theodore Horseman by promising him future referrals. You removed the schedule, copied it, and delivered the copy to Mr. Talbot. When you learned I'd spoken to Inspector Kramer, you retrieved the original and returned it with a threat. You frightened yourself and tried to frighten me. Ladd said sharply, "You have no evidence about Theodore." "Theodore will testify that you asked for a tour and admired the safe. He is a fool, but not a felon." Wolfe's eyes moved to Talbot. "Your mistake was trusting a lawyer to be brave." Talbot's geniality drained away. "Even if that were true, it doesn't make the amendment a crime. It makes it part of a conspiracy to defraud a charitable trust," Wolfe said. "And it makes that note criminal intimidation. Inspector Kramer is in the hall. Archie." I opened the door. Kramer strode in, raincoat dripping, eyes sweeping the room. Wolfe didn't look at him. "Inspector, Miss Ladd will explain her burglary. Mr. Talbot and Miss Vane will explain their collusion. Mr. Huxley may explain his negligence and Dr. Kersey his gullibility. You may proceed." Kramer stared at them, then at me. "Wolfe, you better be right." Wolfe smiled. "I am. Now do your duty." Kramer didn't cuff anyone on Wolfe's say-so, not without a growl. He planted himself by the desk and told them to stay seated. When Talbot started to rise, Kramer barked, "Sit." Talbot sat. Ladd tried to speak first, but Kramer cut her off. "You'll talk downtown. Wolfe, you got something. Besides your story?" Wolfe's voice stayed mild. "Inspector, in my desk drawer is an envelope. Archie, if you please." I fetched it. Inside was a slip of paper in Theodore's looping hand, dated Saturday, noting that Miss Ladd had phoned to deliver urgent trust papers and listing the time she arrived and left. Theodore had written it because Wolfe had told him to record unexpected visitors. Kramer read it and grunted. "That puts her here. Not in your safe." "Look again," Wolfe said. "The lines are in pencil." I asked Theodore to use it. "Miss Ladd handled the slip when she came today. She couldn't resist. Now there is a faint smear of blue on her thumb. It matches Theodore's graphite. She has corroborated herself." Ladd stared at her hand. "This is lunacy." "It is habit," Wolfe said. "You live among papers so long you forget they can betray you." Talbot's smile thinned. "Even if Anne panicked and took a paper, that doesn't prove Celia and I conspired." "Then explain Norland Holdings," Wolfe said. "A Bermuda shell for your stake. It was created by Miss Ladd, funded by you, and signed by Miss Vane. Why conceal it unless you intended to vote, recuse, and still profit?" Vane's calm edged ragged. "I concealed it to avoid harassment. Widows are prey." "Widows are also capable," Wolfe replied. "You invested because Proteus Arc is failing. Their cold room holds samples that missed endpoints. They burn cash every week. You needed a foundation infusion before auditors saw the weakness. The amendment would let a temporary partnership with a for-profit you already owned. That is theft in a tuxedo." Huxley looked sick. "Celia said it was a bridge loan. She said the science was too important to lose." "Important to lose money on," Talbot snapped. "If we don't scale it, we all lose." Kramer stepped toward him. "You just gave me motive, pal." Talbot's nostrils flared. "Motive isn't murder." "No," Wolfe said. "But your intimidation note might have led to one. If Lavoisier obeyed, you'd proceed. If he resisted, you'd make him unable." The female voice in the vent laughed about starving grants. "That laugh was yours, Miss Vane. Mr. Talbot called it alignment. You spoke softly through a wall like thieves." Vane opened her mouth, then shut it. Kramer nodded. "All right. Ladd, Talbot, Vane, you're coming with me. Huxley, Kersey, you stay till I decide what you knew." They went out in a clump, rain and pride dragging. The door closed. The brownstone felt larger with them gone. From the stairs I heard Fritz pause, listening, then retreat. He knew the house had weathered a draft, and silence was its reward, at least for now. Kersey stood. "Mr. Wolfe, I was used. I shouldn't have taken the options." conscience arrives late," Wolfe said. "Resign your consultancy and report the conflict. You may salvage your name." Huxley remained, hands limper. Renee was right. I let duty blur into vanity. "Then restore clarity," Wolfe told him. "Withdraw the amendment and reaffirm the trust's purpose. If you fail, you will be replaced by law or disgrace." They left quietly. Fritz appeared with dinner. Sweetbreads browned just so, and a burgundy Wolfe had been saving for a triumph. Wolfe ate 2 bites before speaking. "The cold visitor was not Mr. Lavoisier," he said. "It was the chill money carries when it pretends to be virtue. Warm it with scrutiny, or it freezes what it touches." I lifted my glass. "Here's to central heating, and to you staying in your chair while the world runs around proving you right." Morning in the brownstone after a case always feels like the city holding its breath outside our walls, waiting to see if we're going to rejoin it or pretend we never left. Wolfe was at breakfast with his grapefruit, using the spoon like a surgeon, and the silence like a shield. I had the Times open more for something to do with my hands than for news, because there's a special kind of quiet that follows the clang of Kramer's cuffs. The phone rang at a civilized hour for once. I took it in the office. It was Lavoisier, sounding less frozen and more human. "Mr. Goodwin, Inspector Kramer was here at dawn. The meeting is cancelled. Mr. Huxley has issued a statement withdrawing the amendment and commissioning an outside audit. Proteus Arc is being reviewed by independent scientists. Talbot and Celia Vane resigned their trusteeships last night." "Good," I said. "How are you holding up in the blast radius?" "I might be fired anyway," he said. "But the grants will continue. That matters." "You did the right thing coming to Wolfe." There was a pause. "Did I? You were burgled, threatened. It was reckless to involve you." "Reckless is Wolfe's middle name. He'll live." I let him go and took the rest upstairs. Wolfe listened while buttering toast. "So they surrendered quickly. That is either remorse or calculation. Talbot doesn't do remorse. Vane has enough money to buy new regret any time she wants. Then calculation. Good. It saves the foundation and spares us a tedious trial." He took a bite, chewed thoughtfully. "Mr. Lavoisier is not finished. Huxley's family and Talbot's attorneys will attempt to convert him into a scapegoat. You want me to warn him? I want you to prepare for it. We will keep his papers safe, and we will give Kramer a memorandum of what we know. If they press him, we press back." Wolfe's voice was matter-of-fact, which is his way of giving loyalty without admitting the emotion behind it. At noon, Saul Panzer dropped by with the kind of smile he only wears when the bill is already in his pocket. He dug up Norland Holdings fully, a paper empire built for a single season, financed by Talbot's fund through a chain of loans dressed as consulting fees. Celia Vane had been the figurehead until she got greedy enough to want the steering wheel. The board minutes showed she had pushed hardest for the temporary partnership, while Talbot had drafted the numbers, and Ladd had spent weeks softening Huxley with words about legacy and keeping the dream alive. Kersey's options had been the quietest knife. Lavoisier's yearly contract had been the hostage. "What about the threat note?" I asked. Saul took out a photo. Typed on Proteus Arc stationery stock, cut clean to size. Their printer model uses a tiny alignment defect on the lower left bar. Same defect on their internal memos. Ladd typed it there after the diner meeting. I gave Kramer the match. Wolfe nodded once. "Thank you, Saul. Your services have been adequate." Saul grinned at me as if he'd just been knighted. He left, and Fritz drifted in to ask whether Wolfe would take coffee upstairs with the orchids. The house was sliding back into its grooves. That evening Kramer called, which meant he wanted either applause or something more from Wolfe. I listened on the extension. "Talbot's lawyer is hollering about unlawful detention and harassment," Kramer said. "He says you framed Ladd with your butler's pencil trick." I did nothing unlawful, Wolfe replied. I merely observed her vanity. If your department finds a better explanation for her presence at my home when the schedule disappeared, I will be fascinated. Kramer made a noise like a man chewing nails. We've got her cold. She's talking now. Wants a deal. Says Talbot promised her a seat at Proteus Ark after the partnership. Says Vane was the one who insisted on neutering Kersey. Huxley's getting a stern lecture from the DA, but he's not charged. Kersey's singing hymns and resigning. Lavoisier's safe for now. You happy? Content, Wolfe said. Happiness is for fools or children. Yeah. Kramer softened a hair. You did good. Keep your safe locked. I'm not putting a squad car on your stoop, but I might tell the boys to look your way if anything twitches. That is sufficient. Wolfe hung up and the line clicked like a lid closing. After dinner, Wolfe stayed in his chair with a book and a glass, the way he does when the world has been made to behave. I sat across from him, polishing a sip of beer, and watched the lamplight fall on his face. The brownstone had survived another invasion without letting its furniture know. You think Lavoisier will keep his job? I asked. If he is wise, he will keep his integrity and let his job follow if it wishes, Wolfe said. Institutions are not saved by those who fear losing their place in them. They are saved by those who will lose it. That's the reflective, morally loaded observation you're supposed to end on, I told him. He looked up. Am I supposed to? According to some higher authority, yeah. I stood, stretching. I'm going to bed before. Another envelope shows up with my name on it. If one does, I'm leaving it for you. Wolfe grunted, which in context meant good night, good work, and don't be absurd. I turned off the office light and went upstairs, thinking that the city would keep being the city tomorrow, trusts would keep tempting people, and Wolfe would keep sitting in his chair waiting for the next cold visitor to try the door.